Hey everybody, welcome to Hear Us Out. It's Thursday and it's Patrick and Paul time, except Paul is having connection difficulty, so right now you've just got me. We're going to do a fantastic show, even though everything has kind of stopped working. And any minute now, Paul will be along. In fact, I think I have him just now, so this is the most fun live stream ever. If I can put you back on watching our little sting, I will try and add him. Dare I dream? Dare I dream that we can actually have Paul any second now? Anyway, what we're going to cover on tonight's show, while I'm also trying to do the technical stuff to get Paul into this, we're going to be talking about Netflix's new show, Space Force. We're also going to be talking about HBO MAX, which we've talked about as part of the streaming wars before. HBO MAX is the last of the big ones to... Paul, if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up.
How's it going?
Yeah, I could see you through your ring light there for a second. I'm going to check live and see how we're looking. Hey, we're in boxes, and I can now readjust my camera.
Sorry, guys.
That's all right. Let's do a little sound check live for everybody. Have a little talk to me there, Paul. Say some things.
How's it going, everybody? Are you doing well?
And I think you're going to need to up your volume or pull the mic closer.
Okay.
Possibly pull the mic closer, I'd say.
How's it going?
We're looking good. I was just entertaining everybody by frantically trying to work on two screens while thinking of what I was going to say to the camera. And I was just filling everybody in on what tonight's live stream will be. Has anybody else joined us so far for this rather messy start to proceedings?
Real sorry.
We have no comments yet, but I can see a few people joining, so welcome. I'm going to get the housekeeping out of the way, like, subscribe, share, all that stuff, but really do like, because it means that other people may get to join and see streams as professionally hosted as these, ones that start with black screens and all sorts of other stuff. I'm going to kick us off with, I'm Patrick.
And I'm Paul.
And we're live streaming some Hear Us Out. And we're going to do a bit of a Streaming Wars episode-ish. We're going to cover some news. I already mentioned Space Force for Netflix, HBO Max's big launch. And I think the one maybe we should start with, just so that we can get to the fun stuff, which is, there's also a little thing on the internet. Everybody's talking about it. I don't know, the Snyder Cut. We'll get into what that actually means. But I think we'll start with Space Force, Paul. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I can't wait for it. It's I'm probably gonna end up binge watching the entire thing because it's on a weekend.
A long weekend, yeah, like a holiday weekend.
Yeah. So I'm probably gonna end up binge watching this, and I'm really excited for that. Because I haven't binge watched like a really good sci-fi spoof kind of, not even sci-fi, but more kind of like comedy kind of jokey kind of thing.
Yeah, well, did you enjoy the American Office?
Yes, I did. Steve Carrell is an amazing comedian, so I'm really excited.
The other guy behind it is the guy that was behind the best of the American Office, and also Upload, if anybody's watching it. Greg Daniels, I want to say his name is. I've gone a little bit blank. I don't know why. I'm a little bit stressed because I was clicking about 15 million buttons trying not to delete my internet. Well, yeah, Greg Daniels and Steve Carell back together. I think there's going to be a political side to this, whether we want to get into politics or not. Donald Trump came out with Space Force. Now Netflix have an Office-style mockumentary with Steve Carell and the guy behind The Office called Space Force about the first American Space Force. So it's going to draw attention one way or the other.
Yeah, it really will.
Like it's not going to go silently into the night at the weekend.
No, it's not, because it's because when everybody said, when Trump announced the fact that he wanted to create Space Force, everyone kind of saw it as a joke, and even with like it came out in waves. First, the announcement of Space Force, then the flag came out, its official kind of motto thing, which was slagged because it was like a rip off of a bunch of stuff. So yeah,
you're talking about the real world here, though. You're talking about the Space Force flag that is one part Enterprise logo.
And lots of it's Starfleet, and then but it's so it's essentially just Space Force, the TV show with Steve Carell on Netflix, is just a long line of jokes about this whole thing, and so it's just going to be interesting to kind of play it out and also see how Trump takes it, I guess.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not even that interested in the political fallout because there's political fallout out of everything, and picking sides these days is a waste of time. I'm most interested with the cast that's involved, just to see how good this is going to be. So we know the creative team work well together, particularly work well together with their star. But Steve Carell is the front and center guy on this, and I think we're missing the big lead, which is John Malkovich is in this. And John Malkovich should never be underestimated. I'm going to try and pull some stuff up. Everything got a
Yeah,
little bit rearranged. Sorry. There we
yeah,
go.
John Malkovich is playing the lead scientist for the Space Force, I guess, science and engineering department.
Yeah,
So
and you've got people like Jimmy O Yang from many many things, but Silicon Valley is the one I'm trying to think of.
yeah,
Like you've got a killer cast. You've got something that's on topic right now. You've got a captive audience in their homes, binging stuff left, right, and center, and you have essentially got Netflix putting something out in HBO Max's launch week. So it'll be interesting to see if it can hold any ground or interest. I think they've timed it pretty well because I think it is one of those things that, like I say, it's going to catch attention whether it's good or bad. Bless you.
thank you. Yeah, no, sorry for that wasn't smooth. Yeah, no, I definitely agree. The key moments is that the fact that they have decided to release it in the window of HBO Max releasing in the US is a fantastic play, and I think we're going to see a lot more of those kind of I guess headline grabbers because like HBO Max got released yesterday,
Yes,
um,
technically last night. Yeah.
and yeah, and then tonight, like, hey, Space Force gets released essentially.
Yes. Yeah. So
So
hot on the heels.
yeah,
And
like it's a headline grabber, you know.
let's face it, it's all about the weekend figures at this stage. And I suppose to move on to what I'm going to say, Space Force, I'm excited for it. I have checked the runtime for episodes; they're not full hour longs. So from a binge point of view, this could actually be something that we'll have watched by the end of the weekend, in kind of half hour, 40-minute chunks. So that's kind of cool. I like that. It's also not a 24 episode run. It's your usual streaming service 10. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But I think we want to move on to the big, 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 big story, which is HBO Max launching as planned with their massive acquisition when they spent all that money, the $1.5 billion or whatever they spent on Friends, so that on launch night they could have a Friends reunion, and they couldn't have it in the end. So COVID stepped in the way. No Friends reunion on launch night.
Mhm.
So the launch title essentially by default became Love Life, Anna Kendrick's TV show. No interest in that at all, do you, Paul?
No, not at all. No, I have watched already the first two episodes or anything.
Really? So any good?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's a little bit out of my wheelhouse because I guess it is a comedy kind of like romance kind of thing. So um, it's interesting and funny.
And Anna
Like
Kendrick's in it. Just say it. You're like Anna Kendrick's in it, so
yeah,
I'll watch her watch paint dry. That's Look.
yeah,
We all have our weaknesses. Mine are anything that's got decent cars in it. God knows I've watched Fast and the Furious enough, and they're awful. So no shame in our weaknesses. I will say though, fair play to HBO because they know, and we talked about this way back at the start of the streaming wars. The reason HBO are such a big player is because when you think amazing TV, you usually think HBO. But they're the ones that invented the big series game, let
yeah,
alone with Game of Thrones, an accidental almost segue.
yeah. Like just think about their last couple of years. You've got like big names like The West Wing, The Wire, great like Generation Kill, Game of Thrones. Like they are the biggest. They were like Westworld, the biggest names in kind of like TV golden age kind of I guess storyline. They've just been going from strength to strength. So when they've essentially announced that they're going to do their own streaming service, which they've tried a couple of times, but this is their big push. This
Yeah,
has also got J.J. Abrams um, joining their whole with Bad Robot kind
Oh,
of
they've
production
thrown
stuff.
money after money. In fact, linked up above for people who are watching later on will be links back to our breakdown of all this and how much money HBO Max were going to spend to enter the streaming game and take on the likes of the established Netflix, the now quickly established Disney Plus, the often forgotten but will come up again in a while Apple TV. Then realistically, there's
CBS.
Amazon Prime, CBS, and I want to get to the one I was trying to think of to take the Mickey out of again is Peacock, because let's
Yeah.
face it, if you can lose before you've even started, that's an impressive loss, and
Is
they
that
lost by naming
CBS?
alone.
Is it CBS Peacock or ABS Peacock?
No, it's CBS All Access is a separate one. NBC's one is called Peacock, which isn't out
It's
yet.
all these acronyms.
I know, but yeah, I will say that Amazon Prime, they're for me, they're still the standout winner because they're not dependent on the fact that they're a streaming service. I think they have an excellent streaming service as part of another service, which sets
Hmm.
them aside from Disney Plus, sets them aside from Netflix. HBO Max is going to be an interesting one because, as you say, they've had HBO Go, HBO Now. They have their own HBO, and they're owned by Warner Media, and they have Comcast and all that stuff in the States. So it's going to be interesting to see how they go about not destroying all their existing businesses with this new one. They have a lot of children and they have to live in the same house.
Yeah, it's an interesting play. It's interesting also that you're like Amazon Prime doesn't really have to uh, bank on the fact that it's a streaming service, whereas Disney Plus does because of the current situation. Disney Plus is literally the only thing that Disney are currently producing. Um, like there's still merchandise and stuff like that, but their like sole savior in all of this has been Disney Plus. So that's an interesting kind of observation there that you had, you
Well,
know.
I think it's going to be fun because if you're doing a launch day and you've lost friends, your friends reunion, which is your big thing, what could you do in the week leading up to the launch of your channel? You could probably talk
Mm,
about what the half of the nerd internet has been talking about for years, and I include myself in that. No derogatory term in nerd anymore, thank God. But the geeks of us out there that were like, "Ooh, Justice League, that was a massive disappointment." Finally, DC had their Avengers film. They finally got the Justice League out there, and it was plagued with problems. It ended up going from Zak Snyder to Joss Whedon to be finished, due to some unfortunate family circumstances for Snyder. And because it wasn't great, and because it was riddled with problems, the inevitable started. Oh well, Zack Snyder has a cut of this film that's much better. His ideas were better. The Snyder cut would be better, and so was born the crusade of internet fandom to say release the Snyder cut, a cut which I might add doesn't exist. We've all known it didn't exist, and now it's been confirmed by the people who are going to do it that it didn't exist by saying we are going to do the Snyder cut, but it's going to take us a year and somewhere between $30 and $50 million to make it.
yeah. Um, just quickly commented, Ben said, do you think actors in Space Force will have old-timey American accents? I don't think so. Like, I think I think it's just going to be a giant, it's like piss take. Like maybe Steve Carell and no, even Steve Carell won't kind
No,
of thing.
what like almost vaudevillian? Do you think it'll be like, no, we're going to see the spaceships fly? I don't think I don't think so. Although you never know with John Malkovich, that man can decide to do whatever accent he wants, as he's proved in more than one film. If you've ever seen
Mm.
Rounders, he plays a
He plays
Russian.
a Russian. It's so bad.
Yeah, and that was
Ugh.
all his choice, and it's John Malkovich, so they didn't argue with him. A little bit of trivia
Check,
for you
check,
there.
check. He's only been checking, check, check. It's like, oh, stop.
Yeah, you know what?
Um,
John Malkovich does John Malkovich so well. That's why you could end up doing a movie called Inside His Head, essentially.
Even with his not great accents in that movie, he still came across as a very vicious like character though,
He has an
which is great.
imposing presence, that's for sure. My
But yeah,
mouse has
no,
stopped working. That's great.
which cause yeah, so it's interesting because as you said, the Snyder Cut has suddenly been revealed as kind of like I guess the big talk of the town in the sense that we've been denied in any way. So it's like the JFK files. You know, they were denied that they existed in any kind of way. and then they were released, and they're nothing that we thought like.
This is
So
Zapruder's second camera where he actually has it pointed at the library, huh, or the book repository. Well, I
yeah,
don't know. I think we are going to find a few smoking guns. And there's two things I really want to get into with you on this. Now that we know fans can make something like this happen, it can go two
mm,
ways. They can become all powerful and think this is going to happen every time, or they can inevitably turn on this when it's not what they've all imagined. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Zack Snyder is great. I'm actually a fan of most of his movies, even the ones that everybody else hates. And he was very, very clever, teasing, sending an image of Darkseid yesterday, just to make sure that everybody was talking
mm,
about HBO. But
yeah,
if this doesn't go well, dude, if this doesn't go well, what is the potential fallout for that man and for DCEU or the DC movie universe, whatever they're going to rebrand it as? Like, it could be
it's
catastrophic.
it could be, and like this is it's just okay. So for the first point, which is if this is something that fans think that they can get away with, kind of being able to push. We've already seen an example of that kind of with the Ghostbusters film from 2016. We got so many complaints about the Ghostbusters like movie with the female cast, which on this show we've already said that the cast are brilliant. It was the movie that was shot
Mm-hmm.
like, and that was awful. But we've seen this already happened. Instead of the studio backing the female cast led universe, they've completely wiped it under the rug essentially and restarted. Now, I am a fan of the new movie because it was written by the son of Egon.
Oh, you mean
Uh,
the upcoming Ivan Reitman movie that
yeah,
Ghostbusters were supposed to get this year? This year, yeah.
yes. So like it feels like fans complain so much about the female version of the Ghostbusters that this has been pushed forward and it was given the green light because there was such it was just like let's strike while the iron's hot and give them a movie that they wanted.
Yeah,
And
I hear what you're saying, and it worked for
and
Deadpool
so
too. It worked with the kind of the rough cut VFX footage that they did for Deadpool unofficially that unofficially got leaked and then created enough interest to get some support.
yeah,
So like
so
it has some precedent. That's true.
yeah, it's the difference here is that it's a movie that's already been released, and
Mm.
essentially what they're asking for is the extended footage and essentially the editor to re-edit what they like, you know, because the what you're saying is it's going to cost like 30 to 50 million is essentially them spending it on the special effects and stuff like that that
Yeah,
they
reshoots and
obviously
special
didn't.
effects and yeah,
Well,
finishing original planned stuff.
I've heard I've heard that there's no reshoots. It's
Oh, there are
essentially
there
just
there are reshoots, but just not with principal cast apparently. So they're
okay.
already planning on doing reshoots, which I assume are going to be to enable VFX laying in of existing footage of principal cast. So there's going to be a
Okay.
lot of money mashing stuff together.
Yeah, and as you said, them releasing essentially the or him releasing the video of or the photo of
Dark
Darkseid.
side, yeah.
Ray Porter is
Mm.
that his name? He's from Argo. Your one of your top movies. Um, which is yeah, he's playing Darkseid. I was real surprised that we didn't get in any way a Darkseid in the original Justice League. We got Steppenwolf who is a very secondary character in the sense of like Apocalypse and Darkseid. So it was kind of weird for me, especially when they had teased it for so long that Darkseid was coming.
The
Like he,
trailer made it look like you were going to get some dark side. The movie itself made it look like you were going to get some dark side, and the fact that they had done Thanos in the MCU as post credits, at the very least, people were expecting. All right, now that we've sat through this crap with Steppenwolf, we're getting some dark side. Like he
yeah,
practically has a phone call with him in the middle of it. So like, there's a lot to be said for fans, and I don't want fans just being able to shout and get what they want because you never know what you want until someone gives it to you. So, be careful what you wish for. You might make a mistake. But on this count, I actually think, yeah, fair enough. I don't know if I'm so into the can we now get a new Suicide Squad? Like the original Suicide Squad. They're talking about doing the same for it, getting a David Ayer cut, or I don't know whose cut that would be. So the non studio involved original cut. I think stop here, folks. Let's just wait and see how this one works out.
yeah, I agree because we've already the as I said, it's the first time that this is essentially a movie being recut. Like we had, and because we've had in the past like Blade Runner and stuff like that, as like director's cuts and stuff like that, but that was more of a creative side of things. This is
Yeah.
fans pushing for this, and this is marketers and business people going, well, let's just release it because it seems like it'll get us people onto our platform rather than, as they said, a creative kind of thing. Like Zack Schneider did say that there is his cut of the version, and it's not like the movie that
Well,
was shown.
and I guess because we've got to move on from this one now, because there's so much other stuff to cover. The one thing that isn't clear is it's coming out next year, and it's going to be a HBO Max release. It's
Hmm.
probably not going to be a movie though, which I think is very brave. They're talking about it being a series or mini-series, which, if they go down that route, they better make sure that there isn't one episode that doesn't have at least 10% new footage or new content.
Yeah,
Because if it dips below that, yeesh, like it's a tough watch to try and go right. I'm gonna sit through, an episode of a TV show that's actually a half hour of a movie I've already seen with 3 extra minutes. That'll go. I know they're smart enough not to do that, but geez, when I heard series, I was like, no, maybe extended miniseries at best, folks. Think hard and think long.
yeah. It's an interesting. When that came out, I was very much like, as we know, we do have to move on. But yeah, when I heard about the series thing, I was just like the same. I was just like, if they don't have something like a kicker in each episode to keep people interested, then they might as well forget it because whatever footage they do show that's new will never be seen because more
Yeah,
than likely it's probably halfway. It's either halfway through the movie or near the end, and if it is there, then you've already lost your audience because they don't want to rewatch Justice League because I don't want to have to hear Jason Momoa, like God love him, say "my man" and all that kind of crap.
sorry, you mean
Like,
my man? Yeah.
yeah, and have no actual and then the only time that he's an actual
All right.
character is when he's being messed with.
I know it's unfortunate how they treated him in that, especially when you consider like I think he did well in his own like solo movie in
Aquaman was,
Aquaman.
I think
Yeah,
Aquaman was a pretty good one. But before we move on, I just want to say that I feel real bad because Josh Whedon's name has been dragged through the mud with this one.
and I think that's unfair as well.
Yeah, as in like every article I've read, every piece of like media kind of like even like Warner Brothers like press release about us and everything like that, and HBO's release has all been specifically named about Josh Whedon.
Yeah,
Like, and it's just like stop. Use like just focus on the fact that you're releasing the Snyder Cut. Let's like forget the
yeah.
fact that Josh Whedon did it because he was brought in halfway through a movie off the back of already having the Avengers creativeness being shoved. Because that's off Age of
Ultron.
Ultron.
Yeah. Well, and I want to take my chance then to throw back over to Ben, who has made a reference back to Space Force that I love because it's about the old timey accents. I'm going to give you a line reading, but I want to admit that it's quite far away. So, um, space, a city on the up with the invention of electricity. I think that's your traveling salesman type extra read all about it era. So nice, nice one, Ben. Sorry, my line reading was all over the place. It's been a stressful day. We should
Yeah.
probably address that. Paul had, I'm just going to call it technical issues. The reason that our
Right.
sound and our visuals and everything is all messed up is that literally we did it live as we were going live because we couldn't get connected before hitting go live. It's also why we were late for those of you that were waiting on us. Um,
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Thank you for waiting.
Like not even technical issues. My computer decided to update and then be a bastard.
Well, there you go.
So
They will do that then, computers. So, Paul, on to the other HBO-ish news. So, our gentle segue is other news happening in that world. I know
yeah,
it's a week old now, but I think we can probably make mention before we move away from Batman and Co. There's a Batman.
I have another one
Oh, sorry, you
after
go
this one.
first.
I have a new one. No, no, no. Go with your one first.
Oh well, no. This is just calling back to the fact that Ruby Rose, who a lot of fanfare when the Batwoman TV show was announced. It's part of the CW kind of Arrowverse and all that stuff. Which, if it means nothing to you, don't worry about it. It's not important. Essentially, they made a Batwoman show, And they cast it quite well in the end, I think it seems to be the general consensus, even though people were a bit outraged at first. After one season and a bunch of injuries, Ruby Rose has left. If you don't know who Ruby Rose is, I'm going to try and get her on screen while Paul says something and I work out why my mouse is asleep.
Yeah, so like Ruby Rose was Batwoman. She kind of she stepped away. She
Yeah.
stepped away
But
from season.
it's now out as to why she stepped away. And she stepped away because of the long shooting hours. It was nothing to do with injuries or any of the rest. Which,
Yeah.
you know, there's plenty. I don't know who out there's rewatching Community for the 15th or 16th time on Netflix. Chevy Chase, one of the reasons he was apparently such a grumpy man on set and not so liked is because he wasn't used to the grueling hours of shooting TV. TV and movie, very different things when it comes to shooting schedules.
Yeah, like that's one of the thing. Um, Everyone was just like, "Oh, it's the injury that she got a couple of years or a couple of months ago or a couple of years ago, where she had to get surgery." No, nothing to do with that. And then some, and the release, like her statement about her leaving, automatically showed that it wasn't a creativity thing. So like, it was literally just like, what is going on? This is why kind of it exploded because it was the lead of the show leaving, but it was also like this is a mystery because close to her is saying that it's not because of the injury, and the way that she left is very much respectful and loving of the creativeness.
Yeah.
So what the hell's going on here?
Look, I'm just glad for her sake. If she's not happy doing it, don't do something you're not happy doing, because it would end up showing through the work. Now, it's not a show I watch. It's not a show I plan on watching necessarily, but you know, for the fans it has out there, I'm kind of glad that she left before things went sour because it could have brought the show down. So good choice. It also gives us a little. Let's take the 60 seconds of recasting. Now, remember that one of the important things for most people when it comes to this is the LGBTQ plus representation of the character of Batwoman. So Ruby Rose fit that bill. My call. I'll give you a second to think about who you might recast, Paul. Casting the role. I think it's a big enough news story and it's a big enough show that if somebody like Cara Delevingne wanted to try and get back with the DC universe after Suicide Squad sort of using her up in their movie verse, this might be a good way to
Yeah,
get back in.
that's true, and she would be a decent like Batwoman.
Yeah,
So
look,
that's an
she kind of has the vibe, I guess, and she very much since Ruby Rose has set things down, and I know the whole costume thing involves like big red wig anyway, so what she's like underneath can be Ruby Rosed up a bit if they want to try and keep continuity.
Yeah, they might see. Could even be a mantle change. We have no idea. They
Who
might
knows?
not even talk about the change in any kind of way.
That's true.
Um, but talking about the DC universe,
Yes.
hot off the presses, 16 hours ago, it has been confirmed that Henry Cavill is currently in talks about returning to the suit, and like it's been confirmed by which is Deadline and a couple of other sources as well now. Whereas the original one was it's a rumor, not a rumor, but it was just like it's he's obviously in talks about because he kind of it was a money thing, I believe. Am I wrong there?
Well,
Um,
it was his allegedly it was a money thing, and his agent was they were playing a lot of hardball, and he was getting a little bit big for his britches. And as you saw, his spoiler for anybody who hasn't seen Shazam, the possibility of him showing up in a cameo there was massively high, and how the studio ended up dealing with it was to shoot him from shoulders down. So it's like, dear Henry Cavill, you know the hardball you're playing with us, you may never be Superman again.
yeah, and well, yeah, it's been confirmed now that he's like entered into talks about returning to the suit and stuff. Which I'll be honest with you, I like from The Witcher show. He has
Mm.
range in a weird kind of way.
He can
Yeah, I
grunt.
know
He
it's,
can grunt. Yeah.
but he's an interesting character in the
No, I
sense
think
that
he
he
did
like
well. Yeah.
so like I'm looking for like
I can't.
he's the only
I can't think of a better Superman. Can you? Right now?
no, see that's the thing because the only other person I can think of has decided to put the shield away. So
No. I don't think Chris Evans would be a good Superman. He's too good
See,
for
I
that role.
think
Um,
I think he would have been brilliant. I think he's the only other person that would have been able to play that character. I think
possibly,
well,
possibly.
because he's already shown because Captain America, like on the comic books,
Yeah,
is similar, is very similar
and
to.
I am shutting this down because I know anytime Captain America comes up lately, you and I end up going off on a tangent, and we're not this time because
No,
I want to say, hot off the press is still hot after 16 hours, Paul. That's a great poll of information, and it's one that both you and I kind of predicted because, like, there is no way when. By the way, for everybody who's wondering how HBO, DC, etc., did their release of there would be a Snyder Cut. Well, it was pretty much heavily teased when there was a watch along party for Man of Steel, which is the Superman movie by Zak Snyder, and the special guest who showed up at the end of that watch along party was none other than Henry Cavill. And up to that point, every member of the Justice League cast had tweeted about Snyder Cut, release the Snyder Cut, etc., except Henry Cavill. So either that was tactical or he hadn't been on board yet. For him to show up there, it was like, yeah, so he's back in talks for Superman. In fact, I would go a hell of a lot further than that, and I'd say there is ink very dry on pieces of paper. I think it's pretty much a shoe in now. I can't imagine them
like
taking this many chances unless they've got something planned.
yeah, like I can't see them constant because we had Jason Momoa said that he's definitely returning, but there was no confirmation. Like he said that before even Aquaman and stuff like that, or during the release of Aquaman. Like it's probably one of the best case. It's probably the worst kept secret
Yeah.
like of Hollywood was that Henry Cavill has been returning, but with this piece of news, it means that it's probably in the next I'd say month we'll probably get a confirmation about him returning.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, and the other thing
so
is, and we will move away from this for all the non-comic fans and all the non-superhero fans out there. Um, but just before we do, think about it. Think about it this way, Paul. They have already recast Batman. They weren't going to go into their next Justice Leagues with an entirely new cast because they kind of want to keep Gal Gadot because they've already got a Wonder Woman movie made. They definitely want to keep Jason Momoa because you don't get lucky making Aquaman work twice. Never mind making it work with a second guy. So the fact that they may well be rid of or be getting rid of Ezra Miller Flash, it's a whole other
mhm.
story I don't want to get into. He has videos showing him being rough with a member of the public that haven't, that's not working out for him. There's a lot of crap going on. And I would say the people in suits, along with the creative people, are like, you know what would be great right now? Just having our Superman locked in so that we can deal with all this, oh, they're crazy. Because we really don't need to be working out if Chris Evans will don the cape for us.
Yeah,
So,
like as a from a business standpoint, locking down at least three of the big hitters, like, and then having like Batman soon,
yeah.
and then yeah, the Flash, which is yeah, it's sad.
Well,
Um,
do you want to move us on to our next topic? We've got a couple of things to cover. You pick anyone you want.
is it the ones that I sent on?
Yeah.
Cool. I'm gonna go. So I'll go for director SG Clarkson. Is to lead a new female-led Spider-Man movie or Spider-Woman.
I forgot that was one of the stories. Sorry, we're not moving away from comics or superhero verse. I forgot
I
that
thought
was
I
one of
would.
them. That's my
I
bad.
thought I'd jump onto this one as quickly as possible,
You
just
should,
because
because I just messed up. So nice. Thank you.
it's just the there's nothing else really news coming out. It's just because Sony has released the Venom and soon to be Mobius. This is another one on their ticket in the sense of creating. No one's sure about which female spider person it's going to be because there's Miss Webb.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
There's Mrs. Webb or Miss Webb, and there's Silk.
Unless we forget
There's
Spider Gwen,
Yeah, there's Spider Gwen, which I don't know how they're going to do that.
I don't
Um,
know if that's where they'd start. They're more likely to go for a Spider Woman at that stage. So,
yeah, just because with the Spider Into the Spider Verse really being kicked off, and they have a really good Spider Gwen kind of in the animation sector. I don't know how much they'll jump into a live action one.
yeah.
Um, but there's an interesting thing that I saw on Instagram, which was about getting which was Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland to all appear as characters within the Spider Verse thing, which they wanted to do in the first one, but they couldn't. And it would be really interesting to see if they do it in the next Spider Verse movie.
That's awesome.
Director SJ Clarkson, yeah, so leads the new female-led Spider-Man.
Yeah, and I don't know a whole lot
universe.
about her, but when Paul sent on some notes about this, her name stuck out to me. I was like, why does that sound familiar? And I instantly worked out why it sounded familiar. She directed a few episodes from Jessica Jones and also The Defenders. So she has a long history in TV. Prior to that, in fact, she's a long history in UK TV when I looked her up. So that's why she's so familiar to us. It looks like this could be, if they've got somebody like that, it looks like this could be a runner. So it's going to play out over the coming weeks, months, and possibly years as to what they'll be covering. But I do know there is no way that HBO Max don't want to have their own TV series showing up in it, just as Netflix had the Marvel show starting with Daredevil.
Mm-hmm.
So what's up next? I'm going to keep letting you pick from the list so I don't mess things up.
So I'll go to Scott
Scott
Derrickson.
Derrickson.
Yes, he's going to be directing a new Labyrinth sequel, which that'll be interesting. The only reason this came up, or the reason that I'm including this, because there's not actually much on it, is because we were talking about the Labyrinth earlier on, and I was just like, I had a look at it and I was just like, oh, why can't they're doing a Labyrinth sequel? So
Well, you're a fan of the original movie, right?
Yeah.
Like Jim Henson directed it too, actually.
Mhm.
It's great. Like Labyrinth, why not do a sequel? It's perfect for it. Scott Derrickson, I think it's interesting that this is where he's landed after, because he did Doctor Strange, was all lined up to do Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness, and as only what I would call the bravest man in Hollywood, fell out with Kevin Feige. Creative differences for wanting to go in a darker direction. Like, if there's anybody I'm not annoying in Hollywood right now, it's the guy with the keys to everything.
Yeah.
So it looks like he's
Like,
landed on his feet.
yeah, it's an interesting kind of place to land, the Labyrinth sequel. It's not a movie. It might fall into the danger of not a movie that we've asked for kind of section. But if the Dark Crystal series from Netflix has anything to say about it, like it should be good because I guess we're dying again for the kind of like puppetry esque.
I think people,
You know?
yeah, I think people will accept that again. I think it's time. Also, I think we can have a bit of fun casting this right now, assuming they're not going to remake the same story. It's going to be a generation later or whatever. But you've got David Bowie and Jennifer Connelly, famously the humans in this thing. I think they'll do a gender swap, and it won't be a troll king anymore. It'll be a troll queen, and it'll be Tilda Swinton as the David Bowie of it all, and it's the most obvious choice. But who do you do as your male version of Jennifer Connelly at that point? Who can
I
play
just,
innocent that well?
I don't know actually.
Well, do you have a better David Bowie stand-in than Tilda Swinton?
See, I don't because I'm real worried that they're gonna do something. They're gonna try remake because he's the try make the Troll King like again
Ooh,
and try to make some kind of like they're like not David Bowie, Johnny Depp. You know,
jeepers, no.
I really hope that they don't.
We can live with that. In fact, if they do want to go Troll King again, still use Tilda Swinton because she can do it. All right, folks, she can. She's done it before. She'll do it again.
But like,
I don't know who your Jennifer Connelly, that wide-eyed and kind of has all the future potential. I don't know who the child actors are that are coming up that can do that, because child actors in general have been getting harder and grittier and more obnoxious roles just by the nature of the way TV and movies are being made. So I don't know if there is a sweet kid on the run-up.
um, Flynn from Stranger Things, one of those kids.
Oh, I got
Or
you.
one of the Stranger Things like kids could probably do with
Yeah.
Flynn or
Wolfhard, yeah, Finn
yeah,
Wolfhard. Yeah. Although he might be aged
him.
out, but yeah, that's an interesting one. I like it.
Like or what's his name? The other one, the other kid in that. I've got
Oh, the other
completely
kid in
blanked.
Stranger Things.
Yeah, the one which
Run through
goes.
their names.
It's yeah. See, this is the problem.
It's yeah,
He's in the he becomes best friends with the bully.
yeah. The one that
Spoilers.
you're all shouting at us from at home, and nobody's put in the comments, thankfully. Yeah. So there you go. A little bit of fun Labyrinth. I would like to see somebody do Labyrinth, not again, but just take the joy and fun that is like any world that Jim Henson created. If you treat it with joy and respect and love, there are stories that you can tell. It's not going to be built for our age group, I hope. I also hope they don't try and make a cash in movie where they're like, Labyrinth grown up. Now, for all of you that remember it first time, here it is with sex and guns. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
don't do that. Make a lovely kids movie, and like I'll enjoy watching it with my niece or nephew or something.
it's like I yeah to mirror what you're saying. It's definitely that they shouldn't don't take what's been there and essentially try to rehash it. Let's tell your own story, be your own creative thing, but in the world of labyrinths,
Yeah,
kind of thing. That would be great. Um, like, and don't, for the love of God, if you do have a troll crane, don't have a cod piece.
I oh gosh, but do whatever you do, do the thing with the balls, the
Oh, the contact ball.
yeah, like do
Yeah.
that. That was famously somebody's arms in behind David Bowie. And apparently David Bowie was a little bit cheeky with his hands behind his back now and again, annoying the person. As you would have to, it's a long day shooting. You're going to mess around with whoever you're working with.
There's also David Bowie. David Bowie's definitely going to mess with you.
Well, yeah, and who's going to say, knock it off, David Bowie? Or as some
Yeah.
people say, David Bowie. And to those people, I say, it's David Bowie, okay? Let's move on our correction there. The
Yeah.
last
So
thing, and this is my favorite story of the day.
is this Tom Hanks's?
Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, Tom Hanks' Greyhound, the World War II sea naval battle movie is being released on Apple TV,
yeah.
which is an interesting platform for it to be released on. It's not going to get the biggest probably
Let's face
like
it, Apple TV's not doing so good, is what Paul's politely trying to
um,
say.
yeah, which is a pity because the movie looks fairly. I like the look of the movie. It's a World War II Navy combat based on the convoys that America was sending to the British Allies before they had or during they had entered the war. And it's about I think it's the battleship Greyhound, which it was its first time doing the escorts.
And
Uh,
we're overdue a naval kind of a seafaring suspense tense kind of thriller, and you've got
a
Tom
good
Hanks.
one.
Like it's great. It's perfect. And the real story here, I think, is the fact that Sony have they're not going to theaters with it, obviously, which is the plan. We'd actually talked about Greyhound in one of our videos, because we had it on our cinema list for things to watch out for this year. Tom Hanks doing
Hmm.
a naval film. And now you are going to have to get Apple TV to see it, or you may find another way to view it. I will not judge you or any of your piracy, particularly since that's a nice segue to talking about a movie that's on the sea. Um, yeah, like genuinely, I'm going to find a way to watch it. I'm looking forward to it. It's a shame for me that it
Might
didn't
be.
go to Netflix or somewhere that just more people will see it.
We'll see, because it'll be interesting. Because does it? There's two things. Does this mean that the movie's not good?
Yeah, it
And
could.
two,
Yeah.
I know it's a difficult one to say because as we said, Apple TV is not doing too well. So is this the kind of thing where it's hasn't been well perceived movie? So Apple TV are essentially getting this cheap,
Mm.
or um, is this essentially Apple TV just for the States distribution, and we'll see this maybe on another platform here in Europe?
It's a possibility, but I
Yeah.
will give you a C or a three. I think, and I'll do a little role play for you. Oh, I can't believe I'm sitting in the Apple TV boardroom. There's so many things going on. HBO Max is launching. Look how successful Disney Plus has been. There's a pandemic and everybody's at home streaming stuff and we can't catch a break. Oh, I'm going to be fired unless I go to my bosses with one really good idea. Oh yeah, Tom Hanks is a film that mightn't get to come out in cinemas. What if I just throw all my money at that and go, hey, everybody, look, it's guaranteed to work. I'm putting Tom Hanks's latest release on our platform. It's the streaming wars equivalent of a Hail Mary. You know, it's the last pass, possibly. Last pass. But we'll wait and see.
Yeah,
We'll wait and see.
yeah. Like Darren has just said, the biggest problem with Apple TV is that they gave away to anyone who bought their phones for a year. Yeah, as we said, they haven't been doing great in the war, in the streaming wars. So like,
Content is
um,
king, and they have not.
yeah,
Like we've not been being mean to Apple TV unneedlessly. We have been being mean to Apple TV. Let's be honest, because we're mean boys. Um, but it's
well,
because
like,
when you list out all the things we've been talking about, it's always a Netflix, a HBO. It's even been a CBS All Access on occasion. The people who seem to be pushing the really impressive new or exciting new content doesn't appear to be Apple.
no, not at all. Like, it's just,
Did I catch you mid yawn there? I did.
yeah.
I'm gonna let you
Sorry,
I'm gonna let you finish that
it's
thought. Yeah.
no, no, no. It's so like it's true. Which they haven't been in any way. Like, if we were to rename the streaming wars to the content wars, which is or the distribution wars, Apple have just they've they were injured and moved like 5 miles back from the line because
Yeah.
they cried. Like, they have not been good, and this feels like people saying, like Darren saying in the chat, saying that like they gave away the platform like with their iPhones and stuff like that. That's just them trying to get people onto the platform, like no matter how they like do it. Like, that's like, if you buy a new iPhone, you get Apple
Yeah.
TV, it's going to be great stuff like.
I think he
um
does make a good point though that part of all this is that the Apple infrastructure is, if you're not in that ecosystem, you're not in that ecosystem, and they have made it a little bit come join our ecosystem rather than, let's say, the likes of a Netflix, which is agnostic, Disney Plus very agnostic as well, Amazon Prime different story, because you don't have to buy a Fire or a Kindle, whereas Apple, they don't
but
have, they're
this,
not already an online presence like Amazon are. So, like, I do take
but
his point, and I think it's a very, very good point. But I think, even given that, like you say, if we renamed these things, they'd still be in the same place. The only reason that they're ahead of Peacock is because Peacock is the dumbest name and they haven't come out yet.
Yeah, it's sad
I
when
just
you're
love
not
picking on them.
the only. It's I know we're all still picking on them. Whatever reason they decided to pick Peacock, like, we understand that
But
their main logo is a peacock, but
yeah,
like, for the love of God, that's if you wanted to rebrand, that would be the moment to do it in your release of a streaming service. But
yeah.
anyway,
But like, I have a face like an arse. We didn't call our channel Paul an arse face. You can find ways to get away from your mistakes. Yeah, no, I'm with you. Anyway, like,
um,
on that kind of stuff,
though
do you want to get into our wrap up phase?
yes, I just want to say, Apple TV and Apple have missed a trick in kind of releasing this as a standalone, like a tech agnostic platform. Because if they'd done it agnostically and marketed really really well, it could have been a stepping stone into the Apple like tech ecosystem. But they completely missed that trick, it would seem.
Yeah,
Decided that like everything needs to be like their little least elitist like stuff, like,
you
if
think?
their content if their content yeah, if their content was amazing and stuff like that, I'd still be very much not like feel barely against joining their ecosystem just to watch their good content. So I'd be just like, you could just, if it's good content, release it to
Yeah.
the world and you're going to get money.
And like,
But yeah.
on that note, because I do want to just say then, as we wrap up, to all the Apple fans out there, we're love and respect. Everybody's thing is their thing. We're not picking on them for any malicious reason. And if you can still put up with us, even though we're making a few jokes, we would appreciate your likes and subscribes. If you can't put up with our jokes and you actually hate us and you're hate watching this, that's fine. Just get down to the comments and write all you want, because that counts as engagement too. And all we're really trying to do is confuse the Google algorithm into showing other people our stuff. So yeah, love us or hate us, engage.
Yeah, you can abuse us.
Ooh,
No matter.
no, Settle down.
I meant in the comment section.
In the comment section. Yeah, well, Paul, I've had a lot of fun. This one started off like no other video we've ever done, with me mashing buttons and sliding things around the screen to try and not not show the back end of our system on screen. It's been a lot of fun, though. I hope everybody who's commented, particularly Ben, I really, really would like to have had you here to give us a line reading on that. But maybe next time. I hope that we can come up with a few more videos like this where we're not talking about streaming wars and taking the mickey out of Apple. I hope someday that we'll be able to do a streaming wars episode talking about the best new show, and it's only on Apple TV Plus.
I've been Paul.
And I've been Patrick, and that was quite kind of him. And we've been Hear Us Out.
See you later, guys.
See you next time.
Stay safe.